stability and our financial stability. They were decisions that I had to make yesterday to get our public finances and public spend to the financial year. That is a situation that I inherited. And it has meant that I've had to make incredibly difficult decisions. Not decisions I wanted to make, but to preserve our economic stability.
From the UK doesn't need higher taxes to unveiling a $40 billion tax hike in mere months. Rachel Reeves's words versus her actions paint a troubling picture of political flip-flopping.
In October, and then 2 further years in the spring next year.
But if you say no austerity, that's surely what it means.
Well, there will be no real terms cuts to Britain, so there'll be no return to austerity.
So does that
but we've got to grow our economy if we're going to review. We are doing the 1 year for next financial year.
Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great! Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. Watch as a fearless BBC host holds Reeves's feet to the fire, demanding explanations for this startling U-turn.
And to local authorities who are struggling with this right now.
Michelle, local authorities did not have the money to be able to take forward this because the government had not allocated any money for it.
I know,
and
but it's a good and it's £1 billion. So overall public spending is what, something like £1,000 billion a year? It's £1 billion, and it would make an intense difference to individuals and families. An important thing, isn't it? I think you accept that, don't you?
I do.
In your manifesto, it says we're going to have a national care service, and you couldn't find £1 billion.
Will she be able to defend her credibility, or will her carefully crafted image crumble under scrutiny? Rachel Reeves's journey from promising no higher taxes to unleashing a $40 billion tax bomb in just 141 days is nothing short of political whiplash. Less than a month before the general election, Reeves confidently declared she had no plans to raise taxes beyond the $8.5 billion outlined in Labour's manifesto. She even acknowledged the dire state of public finances she was set to inherit. So what changed? The contrast between Reeves's pre-election statements and the recent budget announcement is stark. It's as if we're dealing with two different politicians. On one hand, we have the Reeves who promised fiscal responsibility without burdening working people. On the other, we have the Chancellor who's just hit the country with a massive tax hike. This isn't just a minor policy adjustment, it's a complete reversal that's left many voters feeling betrayed. Reeves's contradictory statements are numerous and glaring. She went from championing the idea that the UK doesn't need higher taxes to defending a budget that raises taxes by $40 billion. It's a flip-flop of epic proportions that's left political observers scratching their heads. How could someone so vehemently against tax increases suddenly become their biggest champion? The feasibility of Reeves's pre-election promises was always questionable. Economic experts had warned that Labour's spending plans would require significant tax increases or borrowing. Yet Reeves persisted with her no new taxes narrative, perhaps hoping the economic winds would miraculously change in her favour. It's a gamble that's clearly backfired, leaving her credibility in tatters. So what could have caused such a drastic shift in policy? Reeves points to a $22 billion black hole in public finances that she claims to have inherited. What alternative was there, she asks, seemingly throwing her hands up in defeat. It's a convenient excuse, but does it hold water? The concept of a fiscal black hole isn't new in British politics. It refers to a significant shortfall in public finances, often leading to difficult policy decisions for incoming governments. But here's the kicker. The Office for Budget Responsibility, OBR, didn't validate Reeves's claims about this $22 billion deficit. This raises serious questions about the legitimacy of her justification for the tax hikes. Reeves's decision to increase national insurance on employers has drawn particular ire. It's a direct contradiction of Labour's manifesto pledge not to raise taxes on working people. This U-turn isn't just a minor policy adjustment, it's a fundamental betrayal of the promises that got Labour elected. But is this inherited deficit the full story? Or is it just a convenient scapegoat for a politician caught between unrealistic promises and harsh economic realities. As we dig deeper into Reeves's background and decision-making, we might find that the truth is far more complex and potentially damaging than she'd like us to believe. Rachel Reeves has built her political career on the foundation of her economic expertise. She's often touted her impressive credentials, a degree in philosophy, politics, and economics from Oxford University, followed by a master's in economics from the London School of Economics. These qualifications have been central to her image as a competent economic steward, capable of guiding Britain through turbulent financial waters. But recent revelations have cast a shadow over Reeves' carefully cultivated persona. At the heart of the controversy is Reeves' claimed role at Halifax Bank of Scotland, HBOS. For years, she's presented herself as an economist at the banking giant, implying a level of financial acumen that would serve her well in her current role as Chancellor. However, whispers of CV embellishment have grown into a full-blown scandal, with evidence suggesting that Reeves's actual position at HBOS was far less prestigious than she's led the public to believe. The allegations stem from a 2011 interview where Reeves was described as working for HBOS's retail division, a far cry from the economist role she's claimed. This discrepancy has set off alarm bells in Westminster, with political opponents seizing on the inconsistency as evidence of a broader pattern of dishonesty. Conservative MPs have been quick to draw parallels between Reeves's CV controversy and recent cases where individuals face serious consequences for exaggerating their qualifications. The message is clear: honesty in public service is non-negotiable. As the scandal unfolds, questions about Reeves's credibility are mounting. How can the public trust her economic projections and policy decisions if she's been less than truthful about her own background? The implications for Labour's broader economic strategy are significant. If the party's top financial mind is found to have misrepresented her qualifications, it could undermine confidence in their entire economic plan. In response to the growing scrutiny, Reeves has made a telling move. Her LinkedIn profile, once proudly displaying her economist credentials, has been quietly updated. The new description downplays her role at HBOS, now referring to her time in retail banking rather than as an economist. It's a subtle change, but one that speaks volumes about the pressure Reeves is under to address the allegations. This CV controversy isn't just about Rachel Reeves. It's a stark reminder of the importance of transparency and honesty in politics. As the public digests these revelations, they're left wondering, if Reeves could misrepresent her professional background, what else might she be hiding? And how can Labour convince voters of their economic competence when their Chancellor's own credentials are in question? Rachel Reeves's political journey has been a masterclass in contradiction. From promising no tax hikes to unleashing a $40 billion bombshell, her words and actions are wildly out of sync. Add to that the murky waters of her CV controversy, and we're left with a chancellor whose credibility is hanging by a thread. It's like watching a high-wire act without a safety net. Thrilling, but potentially disastrous. So here's the million-pound question. Can we ever trust political promises again? Or are we doomed to an endless cycle of broken vows and convenient excuses? As one political commentator aptly put it, the public deserves a leader who is transparent and accountable, not one who deflects blame and hides behind excuses. Truer words have never been spoken. It's high time we demanded more from our elected officials. No more smoke and mirrors, no more CV embellishments, and certainly no more fiscal flip-flops. But here's the kicker. Change starts with us. We can't just sit back and moan about dishonest politicians. We need to roll up our sleeves and get involved. Attend those town hall meetings, even if they're as exciting as watching paint dry. Dive into local politics, even if it means dealing with your eccentric neighbor who thinks aliens control the council. And most importantly, push for policies that shine a spotlight on government actions. The road to political accountability might be long and bumpy, but it's a journey worth taking. After all, if we don't demand better, we'll keep getting served the same old reheated promises with a side of excuses. And let's face it, that's a dish we've all had quite enough of.